Good afternoon. I'm Dennis Galucki, and welcome to the 493rd, as well as our 115th virtual Imagine program, hosted by our cultural treasure, the Buffalo and Erie County Public Library. Thank you for joining us today. This program is created by the Center for the Study of Art, Architecture, History, and Nature, and ImagineLifelongLearning.com as part of the Buffalo Chautauqua idea. Now, before we get started, just a little housekeeping. Everyone watching will be muted and your video turned off. If you have a question or comment, please type it into the chat box and we'll go through them at the end of the presentation. We are recording this program so you can watch it again later on the Downtown Central Library's Facebook page and YouTube channels, and we hope you share the link with others. Now on to our featured speaker. Kristin Heltman-Weiss has served as the executive director of the Providence Farm Collective since 2020. Prior to that, she taught at SUNY Buffalo, Canisius College, and Williamsville North High School before founding Buffalo Educational Therapy. She has shared her time and skills as a volunteer throughout her life and currently serves as a board member for the Somali Bantu Community Organization of Western New York and is president of the board of directors of Providence Farm Collective. So now let's hear more about the Providence Farm Collective from Kristin. Please take it away.
Thank you so much, Dennis, for the warm welcome. And I'd like to also thank the Buffalo and Erie County Public Library for this wonderful opportunity to share the work of Providence Farm Collective. I'm having a little bit of a hard time logging on, so let me just do this screen share again. And I would like to say that having a chance like this to share with Western New Yorkers this really important work of the farmers is a great opportunity. And I hope it's one that you know, most organizations take advantage of. I'm having a little bit of difficulty with my screen share being paused. So let me try this again. Okay.
Kristin, if you'd like me to try, let me know, okay?
Yeah, why don't we go ahead, Melissa?
Okay, I'll try it.
Thank you. So we actually did practice this beforehand and it was working.
There we go.
So thank you very much, Melissa. Today, my colleague Hamadi Ali was supposed to join me. He was also a founding member of the Somali Bantu Community Farm. He has a family emergency right now and sends his regrets that he won't be able to join us today. But I want to assure you that this story of Providence Farm Collective very much lives in the work of Hamadi and his Somali Bantu community members. One of the things that I like to emphasize with people is I encourage you to sign up to visit the farm, because experiencing the farm through a tour or a volunteer opportunity is it really cannot be replicated on a presentation like this. And since we are actually all at the farm right now, that's where I'm sharing this presentation with you from. We're getting ready for the farm season ahead, and we hope that you come and join us. You can visit our website at providencefarmcollective.org and sign up through Eventbrite for tours, for volunteer opportunities, and of course, just reach out to me at Kristin at providencefarmcollective.org with any of your questions. So in order to give you a sense of the community of farmers who are behind this organization, I'm going to ask Melissa to start the next slide, which is a short video about and by the farmers, expressing a little bit, sharing with you a little bit about what Providence Farm Collective is. Melissa, the sound is not working on that, so I'm not sure what's.
Okay, hold on 1 second. Let me share my sound. There we go.
Thank you.
Let's try it now.
Providence Farm is located on Burton Road in Orchard Park. They've got several different nationalities farming collectively in their own controlled space, but they're given the resources, tools, seeds, fertilizers, instruction.
The benefit here is we got a free land making farm, growing our own food that we will not be able to go and buy. We grow greens, pepper, and mostly we love to grow our own African food that we love to eat. We grow our own food here.
So apart from that, they are trying to bring us all together as refugees who are resettling in this country, try to provide us with other opportunities that we might not know that are available for us.
It's really a space where you can kind of figure out what you're doing as you become an expert in what you want to grow.
And next slide, please. So Providence Farm Collective has its roots in the Somali Bantu community farm. In 2017, the farm was founded on horse pasture at Dr. Chris Kerr's Providence Farm, actually. He invited the Somali Bantu to come and grow culturally relevant crops to feed their community members. What happened actually, a decade before that was leaders like Hamadi Ali and Mahamoud Mberwa and Kasimu Mberwa and others in the Somali Bantu community. They had been reaching out across Western New York to try to find ways to access farmland. Most of our new Americans who resettle in Buffalo have rich agrarian backgrounds, and they not only are used to living in a rural community, but they're used to subsistence farming, so growing their foods that they eat from day to day. When they're resettled into the United States, they're resettled often into food deserts in our cities. And that has had a very harsh impact on their health, as well as just their sense of well-being. And the elders in the community recognized this, and they sought to find farmland, one, to keep their community members healthy, but two, to also offer them the empowerment that farming provides them in the sense of agency. Once Providence Farm Collective was formed, and next slide, please. We actually had people across the refugee community in Western New York reach out, asking me, how do we also access farmland? And those farming members of the founding members, the Somali Bantu leaders, we got together and we decided that this needed to be a pilot project, that we needed to actually determine if people were willing and able to drive 30 miles, to East Aurora, 30 miles back from East Aurora, or 30 minutes back from East Aurora, to grow food to feed their communities, and to do so at their own expense of time, time with family, time between jobs, because all of our farmers work other jobs, and the cost of transportation. And sure enough, by the end of season 3, we still had about 100 people going out to Providence Farm in East Aurora to grow food to get back to the Somali Bantu community. Next slide, please. So in 2019, September, Providence Farm Collective was formed with a mission of cultivating farmer-led and community-rooted agriculture and food systems to actualize the rights of under-resourced peoples. That first growing season what also coincided with the pandemic. And so food scarcity, food insecurity, especially fresh food access, was it actually made worse because of the pandemic. A lot of people were panicked that June of 2020. And some people were laid off. There were more people going to food banks. That's when we started to have shortages and issues with our supply chain. And it was our community members, a refugee, immigrant, and Black population that was largely impacted by all of this. It also became apparent that Providence Farm Collective was an empowering solution for a lot of these issues. Next slide, please. Fast forward to last year. So we actually, in 2021, moved to Orchard Park and launched a capital campaign to purchase 37 acres of prime farmland on Burton Road in Orchard Park. We did this campaign in partnership with the Western New York Land Conservancy, who, because we have successfully completed the campaign, we are working with the Land Conservancy to protect this land forever as agricultural land. Part of our move has been also a co-location with Cornell Cooperative Extension. They purchased 15 acres next door and are a partner in nearly every program that we offer at Providence Farm Collective. And so that co-location is really wonderful to actually fostering and growing our partnership and collaboration. And the other key component of the capital campaign was to raise funds to build a barn hub that can handle 275 plus farmers processing, cleaning, packaging their produce for markets, that can offer space for 9 unique communities to gather and share farming traditions, as well as other information with their organizations. It's a place where we have our youth programming through Erie County Summer Youth Employment Program. And where last year we had 21 small farms in operation that got over 100,000 pounds of fresh produce into our Western New York community, and primarily communities that lack access to that produce. Next slide, please. Providence Farm Collective does a lot. And in fact, during the pilot project with the Somali Bantu Community Farm, we actually networked across North America to learn about the different farming programs that are available. And what we wanted to find out was what worked, what didn't, why it didn't work. And then during the 3 years of the pilot project, we were also assessing, like, what are the needs of our communities in Buffalo who lack access to farmland and who also are impacted by food insecurity. So Providence Farm Collective offers several unique programs that actually make it a unique organization across the country. We have our community organization farm program, and that's where we have 8 community organizations. 7 of them are refugee organizations. One is Black led by Allison Dehoney. And those farms grow to feed communities in Buffalo on the east and west side, across Western New York, actually, in need of fresh food access. We have an incubator farm program, and when we're fully grown out in this program, we will have 20 small farms. We have 16 incubator farmers right now. They're part of a 3-year program that's funded through the USDA to learn about farm business, how to start a farm business in Western New York. We partner with Cornell Cooperative Extension, who provides technical assistance in farming education that's specific to growing in Western New York. We partner with Westminster Economic Development Initiative to provide business workshops and support to our farmers as well. We have a Providence Farm Collective demonstration farm, and that's where our farm mentor and our farm director offer one-to-one instruction for our farmers for them to take back to their own farms on the property. But it's also a place that we use to develop financial sustainability. We have a CSA program that we offer to the general public, and the vegetables are grown there, but we also aggregate vegetables, especially those really interesting cultural things like Tanzanian corn or Roselle. We'll buy those from our farmers and put them into the CSA as well. We have our Farmers and Youth Lunch program. As our kids come from food insecurity, and as do most of our farmers themselves, we provide a hot farm-to-table lunch 5 days a week to make sure that we're honoring the fact that our farmers are driving out here between jobs and family to feed their communities, and it's the least we can do. We have our Summer Vibe Youth Employment Program, and that's where kids come to farm alongside community members as well as their families. And in addition, we honor the fact that our kids, especially the ones in the refugee community, straddle 2 worlds, neither of which they feel that they completely belong to. So we offer enrichment programming that includes working with Jewish Family Services and Bijou Bahati on wellness skills workshops that are provided to our kids 4 days a week. We work with Stitch Buffalo to provide cultural textile workshops for our kids, as well as things like African drumming and dance, and improv workshops with Second Gen Theater. So our kids get a really unique, rich experience in addition to learning their cultural food and farm traditions. And the last program on the list, our produce aggregation for food pantries, I think is really one of the most unique programs in that for 6 years, we had been trying to find a way to fund to start, a fund where we could pay our farmers parity pricing. So that's fair pricing for what they grow and their work, to then take that aggregated food and donate it into food pantries in their neighborhoods. Typically, food banks and food pantries work under the idea that farmers have surplus to donate, but all farmers work within very tight margins. And if they have surplus, it's actually just a product that they can't sell, produce that they can't sell. And so they don't want to see it go to waste, and they're paid literally cents, per pound for their hard work. And to do that to our farmers would be a gross injustice. So we have this fund to ensure that they get paid parity pricing, and that food is then donated directly into food pantries in their communities. Next slide, please. So the Summer Vibe program, as I mentioned, is incredibly successful. This year, we anticipate having 60 kids participating. Providence Farm Collective, it is the host site of the largest number of participants in the county's youth program. Next slide, please. So all of this has had actually a very positive impact across Western New York. So not only are we supporting 275 farmers at Providence Farm Collective and supporting 21 farms, but last year our farmers earned $70,845 in farm sales for the produce that they've sold to wholesalers and through aggregation. What's really important to recognize about this is this does not include the produce that they grew to feed themselves and to feed their community members. And so a lot of the produce that leaves this farm leaves without having a dollar value necessarily attached to it, but it's huge. We started our own farmers market last year on Grant Street, and I hope you come and visit. It will launch again this June, mid-June. Last year, we had 17 vendors, all from Providence Farm Collective. This year, we're welcoming some new vendors to join us. We have five food pantry partners, and those partners accepted 8,757 pounds of produce valued at over $18,000, grown and donated by Providence Farm Collective farmers. And over 8,000 people across Western New York access fresh foods grown at this farm. In addition, we had 42 CSA customer members last year. Next slide, please. So what's really important to us is the idea of sustainability that honors the three pillars of sustainability, which are ecological, economic, and social equity. When we consider like why we exist, what our mission and vision are, we think about how it's important to us to protect this farmland, to conserve water and keep the water, the air, the soil healthy and nurtured. We think about the importance of sustaining the local economy and making sure through the social equity piece that everybody is empowered to participate in that economy. And last slide, please. There is so much more that we do at this farm. And as I started our conversation today, I mentioned that it's really important that you come and visit us, because I think seeing us over and over again, coming to the farm, coming to the farmers market, getting to know our community of farmers, you'll be inspired. You will have a better understanding of what we do and the need that our farmers, you know, this organization is their idea. I'm simply a steward. I am helping to share network. I'm helping to connect our farmers, help them grow their network, connect with resources. And that's a really important takeaway from Providence Farm Collective, this idea of empowerment and how we as a community can all work together to make sure that there are things like food insecurity that don't exist one day. You know, there's nothing that I would want more, but also I think it's important to know that across Western New York, across our country, there's a huge growing challenge of how are we going to transition our farmland to a new generation of farmers? How are we going to protect this land? How are we going to work together to develop a resilient, sustainable, and equitable system for food and farming? And Providence Farm Collective is one such solution. And we work with our partners to share that across Western New York, but also across the United States. I really am grateful for your time and I welcome your questions. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Kristin. I force speakers to give a concise, tight summary of their activity, and you did just that. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's a great idea. While others are putting in any questions you have into the chat box, please, we'll get to those, but let's start with this. Are there examples of you in many other cities, something similar, if not called, obviously, Providence Farm Collective, but the notion of connecting inner city with land around immigrant populations that want to maintain their ability to remember and pass on the techniques of farming to their next generations? Are there many, or are you doing something fairly unique here in Western New York?
As far as we know, we're doing something fairly unique. So across the country, there are many Somali Bantu community farms across the country, but ones that bring together multiple different groups of people to farm alongside one another. We have not found other examples of that. And then just the uniqueness of the fact that we have that community farm piece where, you know, that specifically addresses food insecurity, and especially around culturally significant crops that people would like access to. It is absolutely like unique in partnering with that, with an incubator program, because again, there across the country, there are incubator programs as well. But us doing all of these things in one space is very unique. And we have also received outreach from people in different states, in different cities, even in Rochester and Niagara Falls, asking like, how do we replicate this? And so there's a need. And there's an interest, and right now, our farm director and farm mentor are at a conference, and what we found is when they go to conferences, we go to learn, and we find out we end up like really sharing a lot of what we do with people because what we do is so unique.
Good to hear. Good to hear. Melissa, how are we doing? Questions?
Yep, we do have a few questions. Someone asked, I think you mentioned a vegetable share program. Could you talk a little bit more about how that works?
Yes. So we have a community, a CSA share. So basically what that is people pay $500 for 18 weeks of fresh produce. You come and you pick it up at the farm on Mondays between 3 and 6. So we're located at Burton Road in Orchard Park. This year there is small opportunity to instead have a gift card with that $500 loaded onto it for people to go to the farmer's market and use it there. But we're piloting this, so that is a very limited number if it's something you're interested in. On our website, there is a link to sign up for the CSA share, and I encourage you to do it soon because this week they've been going rather quickly.
And talking about the, when does the farmer's market on Grant Street start? I'm not sure if that's actually something you guys are connected to or not, but.
It is.
Yeah. So yeah, that's our farmers market. It's the PFC farmers market. It starts usually mid-June. So there will be an announcement on our website. It's largely, we begin it once we know when the crops will be ready. And right now it's looking good, but you know, you can always have that May snowstorm. So, so we're kind of always, we're like all farmers on the edge that way.
Kristin, add when we say it's on Grant Street, pinpoint it a little bit so people know exactly.
It's 130 Grant Street, which is the M&T parking lot there. M&T has been a huge supporter of Providence Farm Collective, and they have partnered with us to host it last year and again this year. And it was actually that farmers market came about because our farmers asked they said, we need a market for us, by us in our neighborhood. So many of our refugee community members live on the west side, so it's really very accessible for them to get to on Saturdays. And that market, once it opens, it runs from 10 until 3, I believe, this year.
Which way the numbers work on Grant Street? Is it closer to the beginning of it? Give me a reference street or something.
It's close to West Ferry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Are there any qualifications, or do you have to be of a certain ethnic group to be able to get into an incubator farm?
So it's under-resourced folks, and under-resourced folks tend to be people who could not otherwise afford or access land. That's typically what we go with. So maybe not even have the opportunity. And why we've pretty much had folks reach out from the city needing access to land. And what's nice about where we are is it's a 20-minute drive, 30-minute drive for most of our folks. So I encourage people to apply. There's an application process, and call the farm director and ask. But typically, our farm has been a space for farmers of color and for people who really need that opportunity to access the land.
And one more question. What about acquiring land closer to the cities, such as suburban land in floodplains along creeks and rivers where building is not allowed? This person says that when they were a young boy growing up in West Seneca in the 60s, there were a number of truck farms adjacent to Casanova Creek.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so most of our farmers actually, in their tradition, it's farming in rural land, and they really miss that, like just growing, the act of being out in the countryside, fresh air. So that's one of the reasons. Urban farming is often brought up. Most of our farmers, the crops that they grow and the quantity that they need cannot be grown easily in the city. And then it's the idea of we have so much beautiful farmland in Western New York, but since the 1950s, we have actually developed 40% of our prime farmland in Erie County. And so I think it's actually really important that if we have this community of people who really want to nurture this land and continue supporting our agriculture and food system, I think that we do that. I think it's just really important. Conservation is a really high priority for all of us at PFC. And so accessing that land is very important. And I have to say, so one of our farmers, Allison DeHoney, is doing an incredible project with Buffalo Go Green in the city of Buffalo. She will actually be building out some urban farming, agri-farming business, right there in the heart of the city. So there is that developing, but I think people want more opportunities than that. And I think that they should have those opportunities.
Thank you. Dennis, those are all the questions that we have gotten.
Thanks, Melissa. Well, we got a few minutes so that if anybody has one last question, please send it in to Melissa. But Kristin, I find it interesting that your roots, if you will, are in East Aurora, your project's roots. And you have the Roycroft there, Elbert Hubbard. And his whole mission was to go ahead and see young people leaving small towns like East Aurora and going into the big city of Buffalo. We're talking 120 years ago. But it was to give them something to do, anything. Use their hands, use their head, use their heart, make something. And it just seems you come out of that tradition now in Orchard Park for farmers to make something, to grow something, to provide something for them, their own use, as well as the community, their community, as well as the larger community. Not unlike exactly different products, but very similar philosophy as Albert Hubbard and the Roy Croft philosophy. I just observed that and the coincidence of you starting in East Aurora. That soil also very rich, from what I understand.
Yes.
It was a major project with the Western New York Land Conservancy. That grant that they were trying to accomplish, was that fulfilled, that of the land purchase?
So the capital campaign was a success. We completed, it raised 2.3 million by the end of December last year. Right now we're working through the purchase of the property. And as soon as that's done, the Land Conservancy and Providence Farm Collective will start phase 2, which is protecting the land as agricultural forever. And in the meantime, we're trying to figure out the plan for that barn hub and what the infrastructure facilities are needed to support that. So a lot of exciting things happening.
Great. And one last time, to be clear, folks, from downtown Buffalo, this is about a 15-20 minute ride. Just go one exit past the Bills Stadium and turn right when you get to the main Union. Is that it's only about a mile or so that you would turn right again before Chestnut Ridge Park. The street before Chestnut Ridge Park, and then go another mile. Don't go over the expressway, but what you will see is a lot of development. That land would it would be developed very quickly if you weren't on it, I'm sure. So you are preserving that 37 acres, as I recall, that you mentioned that you have. So good, Kristin. Great work. You and the group. Let's say a little prayer for Phil. Tell us his name and it's his teenage son that had an emergency situation and is receiving surgery actually for that. So what's the dad's name that was going to?
Hamadi Ali.
Hamadi. Let's for those that believe in the power of prayer. Keep him and your organization in mind. How's that?
Thank you.
You're welcome. So, all right, folks, thank you very much, Kristin, and thank you, folks, for joining us. We hope you'll be back next week on our Zoom, our Tuesday, 12:30 Zoom, every Tuesday, when we'll be joined by Felix Lemka. He's president of the Polish Arts Club of Buffalo. And what we're going to look at is that libraries are far more than books. There's a Polish artist. This artwork was given from the city to the city, and now it, through a ceremony a couple weeks ago, now resides at our downtown Buffalo and Erie County Public Library. So we'll be hearing the background of that art and other things dealing with the Polish Arts Club of Buffalo. So join us then next Tuesday. I'm Dennis Galucki. Be well and good day.
Thank you.